Do you remember Gilligan's Island? The skipper, the professor, the movie star, and of course, Gilligan himself. The clumsy, lovable first mate who turned every rescue plan into disaster. Premiering in 1964, Gilligan's Island was only on air for 3 seasons, but its legacy? Timeless. Reruns kept it alive for decades, and the faces of that unforgettable crew became pop culture icons. Today, we're sailing back through the years to revisit the original cast who brought this tropical comedy to life. You'll find out who they were before the island, what happened to them after the cameras stopped rolling, and where their journeys ended, or in some cases, where they still continue. It's a trip filled with laughter, loss, surprise careers, and legendary legacies. So grab your life vest, cue the theme song in your head, and join us as we look back at the Gilligan's Island cast 60 years later. Natalie Schafer was born in 1900 in Red Bank, New Jersey, a full 64 years before Gilligan's Island ever aired. Before she ever stepped foot on a soundstage, Natalie was already a Broadway regular, appearing in dozens of plays throughout the 1920s and 30s. With her refined manner and aristocratic charm, she quickly became typecast as society women, dowagers, and grand dames, a role she would ultimately perfect on television. In Gilligan's Island, Natalie played the unforgettable Lovey Howell, the millionaire's wife with an endless supply of pearls, parasols, and perfectly timed one-liners. Alongside her husband Thurston Howell III, Lovey brought elegance, sarcasm, and a surprising amount of heart to the island. Always dressed for a cocktail party, never for survival, she was the picture of misplaced luxury in a world of coconuts and bamboo huts. But behind the tiaras and tea sets, Natalie Schafer was sharp, funny, and fully aware of the absurdity that made the show work. In fact, many fans don't know that she did her own swimming stunts, even in her 60s, and insisted on playing her role with a mix of satire and sincerity that kept Lovey lovable, not just spoiled. After Gilligan's Island ended, Natalie continued acting in television, often appearing as wealthy, eccentric characters. She guest starred in shows like The Brady Bunch, The Love Boat, and Phyllis. But Natalie also lived a life of quiet financial genius. She had invested wisely in Beverly Hills real estate long before the show ever aired, making her a true millionaire in real life, not just on screen. She never had children and remained unmarried after her divorce in the 1940s, preferring a private life filled with travel, charity work, and close friendships within the entertainment world. Natalie Schafer passed away in 1991 at the age of 90, after a long and graceful life. Though she left the island behind, she left behind a legacy of elegance, wit, and one of the most beloved characters in sitcom history. To this day, fans still smile when they hear her call, "Lovey dear." Russell Johnson was born in 1924 in Ashley, Pennsylvania, and before he ever set foot on a tropical island soundstage, he had already lived a life more adventurous than most. A real-life World War II veteran, Johnson served in the Army Air Forces as a bombardier and flew over 40 combat missions in the Pacific. He even survived a plane crash and received a Purple Heart for his injuries. Long before he became the calm and collected professor, he was a genuine war hero. After the war, Russell pursued acting, studying at the Actors Lab in Hollywood. Throughout the 1950s and early 60s, he appeared in dozens of westerns and sci-fi films, often playing sheriffs, cowboys, or military men. He was dependable, serious, and grounded, qualities that would soon define his most famous role. On Gilligan's Island, Russell played Professor Roy Hinckley, the group's scientist, engineer, and all-around problem solver. Known simply as the Professor, he could build a radio out of coconuts, fix just about anything, and remain level-headed when the rest of the island descended into chaos. With his rolled-up sleeves, encyclopedic knowledge, and calm intellect, the Professor became one of the most iconic smart guys in television history. After the show ended in 1967, Russell found that the strong association with the Professor made it difficult to land serious dramatic roles. But rather than fight it, he embraced the legacy. He appeared in numerous Gilligan's Island reunion specials, voiceovers, and parodies, always with a wink and a smile. He also continued acting in guest spots on series like The Invaders, MacGyver, and Dallas. Later in life, Russell became an advocate for diabetes research after losing his son to the disease. He spent his final years living quietly in Washington State, where he was known as a kind and humble man, deeply appreciative of his fans and proud of his television legacy. Russell Johnson passed away in 2014 at the age of 89 from kidney failure. Though he never managed to get the castaways off the island, he left behind something even more lasting. A character who inspired generations to love science, stay calm under pressure, and believe that brains can be just as heroic as brawn. Alan Hale Jr. was born in 1921 in Los Angeles, California, the son of famed character actor Alan Hale Sr. With show business in his blood, Alan Jr. grew up surrounded by movie sets and stage lights. He began acting in the 1930s, first in small roles and later as a reliable supporting actor in westerns and action films. He had the look of a classic tough guy, but behind the rugged exterior was a gentle giant with a heart for comedy. Before Gilligan's Island, Alan had already racked up an impressive resume, appearing in films like Up Periscope and The Long Rope, and guest starring on countless TV shows. But it was in 1964 that he stepped into the role that would define his career, the lovable, often exasperated skipper of the SS Minnow. As Captain Jonas Grumby, better known simply as the Skipper, Alan Hale Jr. brought warmth, strength, and comedic timing to every scene. His booming voice, towering frame, and constant Gilligan outbursts became instantly iconic. He wasn't just the ship's captain, he was the father figure of the island, always trying to maintain order, fix the latest disaster, and protect his quirky little crew. His dynamic with Bob Denver's Gilligan was pure magic, a blend of slapstick, affection, and frustration that defined the show's charm. After the series ended, Alan Hale Jr. embraced the role of the skipper for the rest of his life. He reprised the character in reunion specials, cartoons, and even made public appearances in costume to the delight of fans. He also ran a restaurant in Los Angeles, Alan Hale's Lobster Barrel, where he was known for greeting customers personally, often with a sailor's cap and a hearty laugh. Though he continued acting in small roles throughout the 70s and 80s, he never resented being typecast. In fact, he loved being recognized and often said how proud he was to be part of something that brought joy to so many. Alan Hale Jr. passed away in 1990 at the age of 68 from cancer. His passing hit fans hard, not just because of his role, but because of the kindness and humility he showed off-screen. To this day, the image of the skipper with his hat, smile, and booming voice remains etched into television history, a reminder of a man who led his castaways with heart, humor, and unforgettable presence. Bob Denver was born in 1935 in New Rochelle, New York, and raised in Brownwood, Texas. Before he ever put on that iconic white sailor hat, Bob was a high school teacher with dreams of performing. He got his big break in the late 1950s when he was cast as Maynard G. Krebs, the lovable beatnik sidekick on The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, a role that made him a household name and hinted at the goofy, good-natured charm he would later bring to Gilligan's Island. In 1964, Bob Denver stepped into the role of Gilligan, the bumbling first mate of the SS Minnow, and television history was made. With his wide-eyed innocence, clumsy mishaps, and knack for unintentionally ruining every rescue attempt, Gilligan became the heart and humor of the show. Kids adored him, adults laughed with, and sometimes at, him. And no matter how many times he messed things up, he was always forgiven. Gilligan was more than a comic relief character. He was a symbol of childlike wonder, of endless optimism even in absurd situations. Bob's physical comedy, timing, and facial expressions gave the character depth, even when the plots got zany. His chemistry with the skipper, the professor, and the rest of the cast helped anchor the series through 3 seasons and countless reruns that would follow for decades. After Gilligan's Island ended, Bob Denver found it difficult to escape the shadow of Gilligan. He reprised the role in multiple reunion specials and animated spin-offs, including The New Adventures of Gilligan and Gilligan's Planet. While some actors grow resentful of being typecast, Bob embraced his legacy. He knew how beloved Gilligan was, and he remained grateful for the opportunity to have played such an enduring character. Outside of acting, Bob led a relatively quiet life. He moved to West Virginia with his wife, Driema, and hosted a radio show while getting involved in local theater and charitable work. Fans who met him described him as warm, approachable, and deeply humble about his fame. He never minded being called Gilligan. In fact, he often joked that he responded to it more than his real name. Bob Denver passed away in 2005 at the age of 70 due to complications from cancer. His loss was felt deeply across generations who grew up watching him fall out of hammocks, mess up rescue plans, and grin sheepishly as the skipper gave him yet another whack with his hat. But through it all, Gilligan was never just the fool. He was the heart of the island, and thanks to Bob Denver, that heart still beats in the memories of fans around the world. Jim Backus was born in 1913 in Cleveland, Ohio, and long before he ever stepped onto the sandy set of Gilligan's Island, he was already a household name in both film and radio. Known for his rich, booming voice and sharp comedic timing, Backus had a career that spanned decades and genres. He played millionaires, madmen, teachers, and most famously, an animated legend, the voice of Mr. Magoo. By the time he joined the cast of Gilligan's Island in 1964, Jim Backus was already a Hollywood veteran. But it was his role as the fabulously wealthy, endlessly pampered Thurston Howell III that brought him into the living rooms and hearts of a whole new generation. With his ever-present ascot, dry martini wit, and wife Lovey never far from his side, Howell was a caricature of old money stuck in a no-money situation. What made Jim's portrayal unforgettable was the way he blended absurdity with subtle warmth. Sure, Thurston was out of touch, packing bags of cash for a 3-hour tour, but beneath the snobbery there was a twinkle in his eye. His chemistry with Natalie Schafer, Lovey Howell, was pure gold. They were ridiculous, yes, but also endearing, and weirdly believable as a couple who'd rather die than go without silverware. After Gilligan's Island ended, Backus continued voicing Mr. Magoo and appeared in numerous television shows and films. He reprised the role of Thurston Howell III in reunion specials and became a frequent guest on talk shows, game shows, and variety programs. His voice, both literally and figuratively, remained unmistakable. In his later years, Jim battled Parkinson's disease, but remained active as long as he could. He even co-wrote several books with his wife, Henny, including humorous memoirs about Hollywood, marriage, and fame. Despite his declining health, he maintained his humor and optimism to the very end. Jim Backus passed away in 1989 at the age of 76 from complications of pneumonia. But his legacy, especially as the delightfully clueless millionaire marooned on an island, continues to live on. In reruns and memories, Thurston Howell III still strolls the sand in a blazer and tie, reminding us that sometimes the silliest characters can leave the most lasting impression. Tina Louise was born in 1934 in New York City, and by the time she joined the cast of Gilligan's Island, she was already a rising star with the looks of a Hollywood bombshell and the talent to back it up. Trained at the Actors Studio and with a background in Broadway and modeling, Tina had appeared in films like God's Little Acre, a role that earned her a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer. She was poised for a serious dramatic career. Then came Gilligan's Island, and the role that would follow her for the rest of her life. Tina played Ginger Grant, the glamorous movie star stranded in paradise. With glittering gowns, a sultry voice, and a flair for melodrama, Ginger was Marilyn Monroe by way of marooned misfit. She delivered lines with perfect exaggeration, swayed hips in slow motion, and often used her star power to manipulate, distract, or charm her fellow castaways. Ginger was every bit the diva, but with a surprising sense of humor and heart. Despite her magnetic performance, Tina Louise often felt conflicted about the role. She had signed on expecting the show to be more of an ensemble comedy, even leaning toward satire. But as the tone shifted toward slapstick, she worried it might overshadow her dramatic aspirations. As a result, she distanced herself from the franchise after the show ended and did not appear in later reunion specials, making her the only original cast member to abstain. After Gilligan's Island, Tina worked steadily in television and film. She appeared in dramas like Kojak, The Love Boat, Chips, and Dallas, and took on roles that allowed her to show emotional range and depth. She also wrote children's books and became involved in educational and literacy causes, passionate about helping young people develop self-esteem and strong values. Though she remained private about her Gilligan's Island years for much of her career, in recent years, Tina Louise has spoken more openly and fondly about the show's legacy and the enduring love of its fans. Now in her 90s, she remains gracious, reflective, and remarkably sharp, the final living link to one of television's most beloved ensembles. As of 2025, Tina Louise is 91 years old and living in New York City. Her presence is still elegant, her voice still recognizable, and her legacy as Ginger the movie star continues to shine, a symbol of timeless glamour, even on a stranded island made of bamboo and dreams. Dawn Wells was born in 1938 in Reno, Nevada, and before she ever set foot on Gilligan's Island, she had already been crowned Miss Nevada and competed in the Miss America pageant. But behind the beauty queen's smile was a serious actress with stage training and a sharp sense of timing. She studied theater at Stevens College and later at the University of Washington, determined to make it in the entertainment industry. And soon she did. In 1964, she landed the role that would define her career, Mary Ann Summers, the sweet, grounded farm girl from Kansas who somehow ended up shipwrecked with millionaires, scientists, movie stars, and one clumsy first mate. With pigtails, gingham dresses, and a down-to-earth attitude, Mary Ann quickly became a fan favorite, and not just for her girl-next-door charm. What made Dawn's portrayal so special was her warmth and sincerity. Mary Ann was never the loudest or the flashiest, but she was the heart of the group, helping, encouraging, and offering kindness even when things got absurd. Her chemistry with the rest of the cast, especially Bob Denver's Gilligan and Russell Johnson's Professor, was effortless. And of course, the Ginger or Mary Ann debate became one of the most enduring pop culture questions of all time, with many viewers siding with Mary Ann's quiet strength and relatable sweetness. After the show ended, Dawn Wells continued acting in theater, film, and television. She appeared in more than 100 stage productions and guest starred on shows like Bonanza, The Wild Wild West, and Elf. She also became a beloved ambassador for Gilligan's Island, appearing at fan conventions, writing books about her experience on the show, and always embracing her connection to Mary Ann with genuine affection. Off-screen, Dawn was known for her kindness and generosity. She founded a nonprofit called the Wishing Wells Foundation, aimed at helping seniors in financial need, a cause close to her heart. She also taught acting and remained deeply involved in supporting young performers. In her final years, Dawn remained active in interviews and public appearances, always expressing gratitude for the fans who kept Gilligan's Island alive for so many decades. She often spoke of the cast as a second family, and of the island as a second home. Dawn Wells passed away in 2020 at the age of 82 from complications related to COVID-19. Her death marked the end of an era for many fans, but her spirit, gentle, hopeful, and quietly powerful, lives on through every rerun, every smile, and every loyal viewer who still chooses Mary Ann. Stanley Adams was born in 1915 in New York City, and by the time he appeared on Gilligan's Island, he was already a well-known character actor with a gift for playing big personalities and even bigger egos. With a career spanning film, radio, and television, Adams had the kind of face and voice that stuck with you. Loud, theatrical, and always in control of the room. In 1966, he guest starred on Gilligan's Island in one of the show's most beloved episodes, The Producer. He played Harold Hecuba, a bombastic, self-important Hollywood mogul who crash lands on the island and quickly becomes the center of attention. When the castaways put on a musical version of Hamlet to impress him, chaos ensues, and comedy history is made. Adams's performance as Hecuba was over the top in the best possible way. His booming voice, exaggerated reactions, and mock-serious stage presence turned the episode into a fan favorite. The musical number alone, complete with absurd lyrics like "Neither a borrower nor a lender be," became a legendary moment in sitcom history, with Adams playing the perfect straight-faced foil to the islanders' earnest enthusiasm. Beyond Gilligan's Island, Stanley Adams had a rich career in classic television. He appeared in shows like The Twilight Zone, Perry Mason, Gunsmoke, The Addams Family, and Star Trek. where he famously played the space trader Cyrano Jones in the iconic episode The Trouble with Tribbles. No matter the genre, Adams had a unique ability to play lovable loudmouths, overconfident schemers, and characters who could steal a scene with a single look. Tragically, Adams's later years were marked by personal struggles, and he passed away in 1977 at the age of 62. Though he was only on Gilligan's Island for one episode, his performance as Harold Hecuba remains one of the most quoted and replayed moments in the entire series. To this day, fans remember that absurd musical Hamlet and the larger-than-life producer who almost promised them stardom. Thanks to Stanley Adams, the producer didn't just bring laughs, it brought Broadway to the island, even if just for a moment. From the clumsy charm of Gilligan, to the wit of the millionaire, to the warmth of Mary Ann, every character brought something timeless to Gilligan's Island. Though the show only ran for 3 seasons, its magic has lasted for generations. Because it wasn't really about being stranded. It was about how different people from different worlds found a way to laugh, live, and hold on to hope, even when the rescue never came. These actors gave us more than just entertainment. They gave us memories, whether through reunion specials, fan conventions, or simply reruns on lazy afternoons. They've stayed with us. And for many, they always will. But now we're curious, who was your favorite castaway?
I think the two
Was it the
things that I
clever
miss the
professor,
most are
the loyal
vegetables
skipper,
and
the glamorous
dates.
ginger?
Yeah, plenty of dates
Or maybe
here
you
in the
always rooted for
Not the kind
Gilligan,
I miss.
even when he messed everything up? Let us know in the comments and tell us why. We read every single one. And if you'd like to revisit more classic shows and their unforgettable casts, make sure to subscribe. We've got plenty more trips down memory lane ahead. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.